Hello. So, why is it that you can understand me or your teacher, but you can't understand other native speakers when they're talking or speaking at their native, or I should say, natural speed? Have you had this problem? Today, I'm going to answer that question and tell you what you can do about it. But first, let me introduce yourself and take a look at who's here. Am I speaking correctly today? Did I say, let me introduce yourself? I think I did. I meant to say, let me introduce myself. And if you would introduce yourself in the comments, that would be great so that I can get to know you. If you have already introduced yourself, let me know this is your second time here and where you're listening from. So I'm Tanya. I'm the creator of our She Speaks Fluency program for women who have an intermediate and above level of English. And I just know that this is a question. Why can I understand you, but not other native speakers, that I hear all the time? So, I want to start by telling you a little bit about my last week to kind of give you the idea and the feel for this. Welcome, everyone. I see Ursula. I see people from Spain and Taiwan and Chile and Russia. This is fabulous to have you here live. If you're listening to the recording, you can join us live on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Los Angeles, California time. I live near Los Angeles in Southern California. And then if you are listening to the recording, you can still see, let's see, over here, the comments that I see on the side of my screen if you're watching on your computer and you make your image smaller. So the last week has been a major roller coaster ride for me. And when we say something is a roller coaster ride, we mean it is like lots of highs and lots of lows. And for me, this is what this last week has been like. So if you joined me last week, you know that I hit 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Yay! Thank you so much for every single one of you that have been coming to these lives and watching my videos and subscribing. I really appreciate you, and it makes it possible for me to make more videos like this. So I had that super high, and then the next day, I was feeling so heavy. We say we're feeling heavy. Maybe we're depressed. Maybe we're not really depressed. And so we don't want to say, I feel depressed, because we're not actually depressed, but we just feel heavy. I had had death in the family a couple of weeks before that, and grief, the feeling you have after someone dies. Grief is such a process that can be a roller coaster all by itself. So here's the thing. After having this up and this down, and then I had 2 new students join our She Speaks program. So yay, that was very exciting to get to know them. And then I felt the sadness of the family stuff that was going on. And then I had 2 more students join the She Speaks program. So this was lots of good things happening, connecting with family, and lots of difficult things happening. So at the end of the week, after I was exhausted from this, I thought I was going to die. Now, obviously, I didn't actually think I was going to die, but this is another idiom, roller coaster. It was a roller coaster ride is one idiom. The other idiom is I thought I was going to die. And this is one of the reasons when I speak like this, you can understand me, because I'm using idioms, but I'm telling you what they mean. So this is not the biggest reason. It is a big reason, though. Native speakers, fluent speakers use a lot of idioms, and phrasal verbs. And so, what can you do about this? You need to listen more, listen more, listen more, listen more to what you understand, which is what we call comprehensible input, meaning that you understand most of what I'm saying. Maybe not all of what I'm saying, but most of what I'm saying. And the more you listen to that, the sooner that listening to a lot of native content, in other words, podcast, television shows, the news, things that are made for native speakers, once you start to listen to a lot of that, it's going to get a lot easier. And another thing you can do right now is to listen to more people that you understand. If you understand me and another teacher and several other people on YouTube and also on podcasts and a news show or whatever it is, if you can understand it, then listen to it. Listen to different people. If you're really having a difficulty with this, I would stick to one accent until a lot of people in different accents um, begin to be something you can understand. Now, you do want to expose yourself to a lot of different accents because in this global world, that's a hard word. Even I trip up on it, meaning even I make mistakes. It can even be difficult for me. Even I trip up on it. This is when you're walking and you trip over something. And when we trip up on something verbally, it's like, so I can trip up on the word world. And in our global world, we speak with people from all different accents. I speak with people from all different accents, English accents, all the time. So this is important. Just focus on one accent. Maybe you focus on American accent or British accent or Australian or whatever it is, and then make sure you're listening to a lot of other accents as a part of this focus. Okay, so I want to see who's here and then explain to you probably the biggest reason you're having difficulty listening to other people. Okay, I see lots of comments here. Welcome, welcome, everyone. If you do have a question, be sure to put it in the chat or the comments. And if you're with me live, make sure you put either capital letters or lots of exclamation points so I can see those. Thank you so much for putting your questions here. Please make sure you put, oh, okay, you're doing it. Thank you, and thank you for all the hearts. One person says, I have one question I want to ask you. Definitely ask me. And that brings me to my next point. This person wrote, I want to ask you. So this is what we call connected speech. You may have heard it called many different things. It really doesn't matter what you call it. Some students will say they need help with contractions when they mean connected speech. And it's just when we take words and we smash them together. This is smash or squish. Squishy is something that's like this, and we'll say we squish them together. And I want to, we often say I wanna. In fact, when we're speaking naturally, we almost always say I wanna. So you're already learning some of these words. And I want to take us back to that little story I told you at the beginning when I said I felt like I was going to die. And I wrote down a note here. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. If I say to you, if I say to you, if I say to you, do you see how I'm putting my words together? I'm connecting them. This is why we say connected speech. If I say to you, if I say, I thought I was going to die, you totally understand me. And because we're talking about it here, and I say, I thought I was going to die, I didn't say, I thought I was. I said, I thought I was. So, right now, here's another key for you. Copy what I'm saying when you can. You don't need to make this a study thing where you work hard. Just when you're listening, and you're listening a lot, copy what the person says every now and then, or you can do it as a practice. Sit down for 5 minutes and copy what the person says. But the key here is don't make it difficult. Don't worry about perfection. Don't worry about getting it exactly right, because nobody gets exactly right. As I'm speaking to you right now, I am saying things that aren't right or correct. They're just the way we commonly use the language. So let's try that again. I thought I was. Instead of I thought I was, we're going to say I thought I was. I thought I was. So it's almost like that last T in I thought turns to a D. I thought. I thought I thought I thought I was. Now, I have a lot of content teaching this on Instagram. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, you might want to do that. And if you put in the hashtag speak with Tanya, I'll put it here, you will find all those videos that I made specifically teaching like I just did, showing you how we do this. However, that's okay. That's a good thing to practice, and I would sprinkle that in. In other words, this is sprinkling. If you put your hand in water, or here's my tea, if I put my hand in here and sprinkle it around, when I say I would sprinkle that in, what I mean is do that every now and then when it's feeling fun and you're interested in it, you're curious about it, do that. Like if you're curious about it after this video, go to Instagram and do that. But don't make it like, oh, I have to do this a lot. No, what you need to do is listen to more comprehensible input. And I can't say that enough, because a lot of times students get the message that you need to speak more, which is true. You do need to speak more. Speaking more doesn't mean stop listening. And one of the reasons this is confusing is sometimes you'll hear teachers say you're listening too much. You need to speak more. That's a confusing thing. But what they mean is doing only this is not good. Not good. You need to do both. Instead of saying it's too much, it would be more accurate to say you need to do both. So let's see. I see someone said they have a question. I don't see a question yet. So if you have asked a question that I haven't gotten to that's about the topic, then put it in the comments or the chat and I will get it. Okay, I see Dan put a question in here right away. Why is understanding English movies difficult sometimes? They use all kinds of advanced grammatical structures, including idioms, phrases, and phrasal verbs. You kind of answered your own question, and it's the connected speech that I'm telling you about now. So using subtitles in English will really help you with this, because you can check and see what they're saying in English, because now that you can understand me, which by the way, this is really great. It means you have a high level of English if you can understand me speaking to you right now. Then you can use the subtitles on your movies or whatever you're watching. Even on this, when this is a recorded video, you could put the subtitles on, and then you can see what the words are in the subtitles. Now, of course, it is okay to just read the subtitles while you're listening, and this is a good thing. If you want to make it even better, then see if you can focus on what the person is saying. Put your focus on watching their face and their body expressions or their gestures, and that will help you to get so you understand native speakers even more. That was a great question, Dan, and you pretty much answered it yourself. Okay, so let me look at my notes because I don't want to forget anything here. So you can go around saying this word, I thought I was gonna die, just like I do when I'm practicing pronunciation in Spanish. I've been learning the word to hum. If you don't know what to hum means in English, it's when we sing a song to ourselves without words, like I hum this to myself pretty often, almost every day, reminding myself to slow down. The name of this, well, I don't know about the name. The song says, "Slow down, you go too fast." And one of the things is that slowing down, not stopping, but slowing down can be a very helpful thing if you're a person who's always trying to get everything done like me. So what does this have to do with this? The word for hum in Spanish is tararear. This is difficult for me to say. And so I will listen to it, tararear, slowly, and then I will walk around, tararear, 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 and say it until I get it so it sounds more smooth. And then I ask my teacher about it, tararear, or another person who speaks Spanish because I have conversation exchanges, and then they can help me with it. Yes, it is absolutely okay to practice like this. If you've heard me speaking about how to practice, you've heard me say that I believe that the best way is to listen to a lot of comprehensible input and then have a lot of output like speaking and writing with a teacher or a conversation exchange or another language learner, another English learner. Yes, these are the best ways to practice because they're natural. And also sometimes, not all the time, I sprinkle in this kind of practice, tararear, to hum. What was the sentence we were saying? I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. So the important thing here is you have to find, you have to find what works for you. We are all different. And as a teacher, one of my jobs is to find out and help you find out what works for you, but also for me to understand my different students. And oh, it works better this way or that way. So that's one of the jobs of a teacher. But interestingly, as students, we often don't know what works for us because we think we need to listen to what the teacher says and do what they say. That's an old paradigm, or in other words, an old way of thinking that the teacher knows everything and you should do it this way. There were reasons that it was done that way in the past, but as you know, the world has changed so fast, and we are understanding now that that may not have been so great in the past. It worked for reasons in the past, but it had problems. And now we know that there are new things that work better. And one of the things we know is that everyone learns differently. And so you need to find what works for you. And it may be a different combination of what you listen to, what you do when you speak, and how you sprinkle in these practicing things. So, the best way to overcome this is to find what works for you. And this is why in my She Speaks program for women, this is the focus is helping women find exactly what works for them. And it takes time to do that. And so I have created a video course so that women can find what works for them by watching these videos and coming to Zoom classes with me and conversation groups with other women and putting all these tools together so that they have the things they need all the time so that they can be working on their English. So if you're interested in more information about that, there I will put a link below this video when I put the recorded version on YouTube and you can check it out there. So let's look at some examples of connected speech and contractions. I'm only going to speak a little bit about contractions because these are words like cannot, which becomes can't. I put it in the chat there. Going to, we already talked about becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna. Have to, you heard me use this, becomes have to. I have to go now. I have to go now. I have to go now. We don't say I have to go now. We say I have to go now. I have to go now. So practice saying, I have to go now. I have to go now. We almost drop the word I. We say it, but listen, I have to go now. I have to go now. I have to go now. Has to comes from has to. He has to go now. He has, I can't even say it the other way. He has to go now. He has to go now. He has to go now. Yes. Listen, you can barely hear the H. He has to go now. He has to go now. He has to go now. Where is Dan? Sorry, he has to go now. He has to go now. He has to go now. Okay, and the more you listen and practice while you're listening, not all the time, remember, we're not making this a chore. A chore is like work you have to do. We're not making this work. We're making this a practice. We're making this something we can be interested and curious about doing and enjoy doing. Okay, so I could go over all the rules. These were, the first one was a contraction, can't. Gonna, wanna, have to, has to. These are connected speech. I say this only because some people want to know, but if that doesn't matter to you, don't worry what it's called. You don't need to know what it's called unless you're going to be a teacher or maybe an interpreter. But most of us are just learning to be speakers, to be able to communicate. We don't need to know what the grammar rules are. Do you know what all the grammar rules are in your native language? No, 90% of us don't know that. So I'm not going to go over all the rules here for two reasons. First of all, you can find the rules in a book, on the internet, from another teacher. That is everywhere. And secondly, the most important thing about why I'm not going to tell you all the rules is because unless you're going to be an interpreter or a teacher, like I said, a translator, something like that, knowing all the rules can slow you down. It will probably slow you down. Because if your brain is trying to think of what to say, and it's like, okay, what was the rule? Let's see. It was cannot is can't. Okay, I want to say can't. And oh, yeah, there was an apostrophe in that word. And okay, so can't. It takes your brain a long time to go through all of that before you can speak. But if you just listen more and speak more, which is your natural way of learning, your brain is not going to have to go through all the rules. It's going to start speaking by what it heard and spoke when you were practicing. So, what will fix this? More comprehensible input, like I've said already. Listen, 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 listen. And I'm going to look at the questions here. Vivian says, I hesitate to use this because my English level is not enough. I'm not sure, Vivian, what you're hesitant to use what? Tell me what you're hesitant to use. However, to use comprehensible input, you can start with comprehensible input from absolute beginner. So don't worry about that. Another person says, exactly. For example, when you're covered up by the heart, we speak our language, we don't think. Exactly. You don't think in your native language, and this is going to help you to stop thinking when you're speaking in English. I'm a student from Colombia. I'm a foreign language student. I really like your content. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all of your kind words here. How can we find an intermediate public news to listen to? That's the other thing we do in She Speaks is we share a lot of different resources, like how do we find this and what are you using to listen to? And just yesterday on our platform that we use, there was a conversation going about another resource and another thing you can use to practice. But to answer your questions, that specific questions, one of my favorite places for students to listen to the news in different levels is called Breaking News English. So if you go to Breaking News English, you'll find lots of different levels there. Any other questions before we finish and we talk about the 2, 3, 2, 2.5 things you need to do? I'm going to sum it up for you. In other words, I'm going to give you everything I said in 3 easy steps. Please answer my question, Farida. Farida, I'm not sure I'm saying your name correctly. I need pronunciation help, but let's see. Are those let's see. Yes, pronunciation. I see some pronunciation things. If you put your question again, oh, okay. I'm living in Canada since 3.5 years ago. So I can speak and understand 50%. Is that okay? So the question is it okay if I can speak and understand 50%? Of course it's okay. Wherever you are on your journey is absolutely okay. What you need might be something different. So keep using everything you're learning here in this video and the other videos I've taught on this channel. Come every Tuesday where we're talking about this stuff so you can learn more. For sure, use the story videos that I've made that are recorded and you can listen to those. And you'll find a lot of great content with other teachers on other channels. So, Tanya, why are you recommending other teachers? Because of things I've already said today. If you missed it, go see the recording when I put it up in a minute. But also because I have one style of teaching, other teachers have different styles. And also, pardon me, you need to listen to a lot, way more than what I have here. This is a great place to come. Yes, please come and listen. I definitely want to have you here with us. And you're going to have to listen to more things. Okay, so our three things are that we talked about and that you need to remember. Shadowing, that means copying what I say or whoever you're listening to in a curious and interested way, not like it's a job, not like, oh, I have to get this all right. No, shadowing in a curious and interested way. Number two, more comprehensible input, which means that you need to listen to a lot more information. And if you're not sure about what that is, I speak about it earlier in this video and in other videos, but if mainly you just need to listen to things you understand. And so I will put a video here at the end when we are when the recording comes up. Then the third thing is you really do need to speak and speak a lot. So if you're curious about how you can speak and different ways you can practice your speaking, I'll put a video over here at the end once the recording comes up. Thank you for joining me here today, and I hope to see you next Tuesday here again for another live. Talk to you soon.